Hello St Andrews, my name is Paul Young. I'm the Chief Executive of a Christian charity down in Brighton called Off the Fence, and I had a phone call from Carr earlier this week and he said, would I just give a few minutes to you to just tell you about God's goodness, and especially as you go into this very exciting time with your capital appeal, just to show if God can use somebody like Paul and use Off the Fence, how much more can he do for a group of people like you at St Andrews. I started from back here in Brighton. I was born and raised here, and my dad was a heavy drinker. He was an alcoholic, very aggressive man, so never really got to know Dad properly. I was brought up by my granddad, who was a First World War hero, and he brought me up, but he was a product of the First World War. Never got over going out to war with 278 of his friends and only 12 returning. He took his own life when I was just hitting my teenage years, and so it was a very, very mixed up time. I left school very early. I only got CSE English and metalwork, nothing to write home about, and I was always going to join the army. But God had different plans for Paul. I'd left school early because even after 27 years of marriage, my old mum would say to my wife, Paul had the devil in him. And I didn't really know what that devil was until my eldest daughter had done a psychology degree. And she come back and said, Dad, we've got to do this course to see if you've got ADHD. And I said, well, I'm not sure about it, but my other two daughters come around as well, and I had to do 50 questions, and it said, if you've got 50%, you've probably got it. 60%, you should go and see the doctor. 70%, you need medication. Well, I come in at 97%, so that explains an awful lot, especially about my background and my teenage years. I took so much out of this city, but in the way that God works, I was just hitting my 20s and I ended up on a missionary ship. That's a whole story in itself. But just off of Guinea-Bissau, on a missionary ship, I was the only non-Christian, but I'm off of Guinea-Bissau. My life changed forever when Jesus Christ came and hunted me down. And my life totally was different. I met a young lady from Australia, went over there. I was an associate pastor over in Australia, but always had that deep vision to get back to Brighton for all the people that never knew Jesus, all the poverty, all the homelessness, what I've taken out of it. I wanted to put something back. It ended up that I was part of an Anglican church here called Bishop Hannington Church, and they said, be on our staff. So I was on that staff, and it was about 6 months into that time as one of the staff of Bishop Hannington when the council and all the different agencies in the city said, look, let's get together. We've talked enough about the needs of the city. Let's do something about them and let's get off the fence and make a great difference. So that's how I started. It was a tiny little church group. There was 2 of us going out to the homeless, and we started a tiny little project. Started first year 2 of us, second year 4 of us, third year the churches got on board and there were 70 of us. So very exciting times. So I pulled out of being in the pastorate to run Off the Fence, and it was our first year of a £3,000 budget. Many people doubted if we could raise 3,000 that first year. Well, God has been good to us. And God will take you on a journey if you just plant the seeds. Here we are, 22 staff. We turned over almost $500,000 this year. Since 1997, we've seen more than £3.8 million come in and back out to the streets and the people that most need it. We started this capital appeal for this great building we've got, and within 1 year, God gave us the money. And we're on to our second capital appeal for the Women at Risk project. If God can use me as son of an alcoholic, the one who was brought up by a granddad who threw himself under a train, who never had no real education, If God can use me, Paul, ADHD, whacked up to the eyeballs, God can use anyone. And what I'd say to you today as you start that capital appeal, give all you've got to God, because he's no man's debtor. And I really hope and pray you have a great, exciting time as you start that project. Give to God, because he always gives back so much more than what you ever expected. I'm looking forward to coming, seeing all that God has for your church. And God bless you, and give very generously to the things of God. Thank you.